So you're moving to Huntsville, Alabama, and you're asking yourself this important question. Should I buy a new house? Should I just go ahead and build new? Or should I buy a used house, buy a resale one, and maybe put the updates that I want into it? Just gain something established neighborhood. Well, today we're going to be answering that question, along with how Alabama's caveat emptor or buyer beware may greatly affect your decision between building new or buying existing. So I've got 10 different categories here today that I'm going to be pitting and talking about pros and cons, both sides of the story between new construction and used home here. And ultimately, it's going to be your decision taking this information in, deciding what's going to be best for you and your situation moving here. So let's go through this little Halloween bucket here and pull out the list. Energy efficiency. Okay, so this is a big one, especially depending on what era of a house you're looking at. Of course, with a new home, you're going to have everything built up to the newer standards. Your current windows oftentimes are going to be your double pane. You're going to have a lot of it's more common to see energy efficient appliances and then upgrades as well that you can talk with the builder on making your home more green. Different builders have different options on what you're able to do. There's a whole host, and why it takes someone here locally who can help kind of navigate you through which builders and what they offer. But energy efficiency, I'm going to say more likely to get a more energy efficient home, saving you on those utility costs, especially during the summer. July, August is usually speaking when people see their highest utility bills, so in those peak summer months. And it stays hot a lot of the year here. So if you like it cool, you're going to be seeing those higher temperatures there in the summer. Used home, you have a variety. Unfortunately, one of the things is if you're buying especially a much older home, then you'll want to take a look at the windows, look at the appliances, and just different aspects of that house to see how well insulated it is. You could be dealing with a lot higher utility costs, especially if you're getting into a much bigger square footage house. So in summary, building a new home, you're more likely to get that energy efficient. But there are some homes that are certified energy efficient here, that are a few years back, or you can be looking for those older homes that have been upgraded up to higher standards of efficiency. Negotiation. So this is a really big one. It is actually a bit harder to negotiate against builders when it comes to building a new home. Oftentimes, builders are going to have you. There's a couple ways you can go. You can either buy a spec home, which is a already built home by the builder. But if you're looking at building something from scratch and then you're picking one of their plans, a lot of times most of those costs are going to be fixed. You don't have as much negotiation room with a new construction as you would a resale home, where you can have a lot more flexibility there in typically what you can ask for. Now, of course, with anything, if you don't ask, you won't receive. So it's not that there's no room, but it's usually oftentimes a lot less room to negotiate with a new build. That being said, a lot of times right now, and we're seeing the days on market increasing, and builders starting to have more inventory on their new builds. This is something they haven't had to deal with for a couple of years as we went through 2019, 2020, 2021. And so now I'm getting emails almost every day from builders offering new incentives. A big one that builders are offering right now, a lot of them are incentives and buying down your interest rate if you go with their preferred lender. That right there is going to be key. A lot of these builder incentives are going to be predicated on you using their preferred lender, but that doesn't always mean that you're completely out of luck. Some of these builders offer different incentives and different, maybe it's a new build and they're offering a lot premium incentive, or they're waiving the lot fee, or they are offering some different upgrades. Some of those are regardless of whether or not you use their preferred lender. So with all these builders, with more time, they are offering more and more perks. But when it comes to a resale home, you do have the potential to have a lot more negotiation room. If they overprice their home too high, and right now, if you're overpriced 5 or 10% too high, oftentimes your home is going to be sitting and you may have to sell that home for less than you would have gotten for it if you just priced it right to begin with. So that gives you a lot more flexibility in looking at those homes that have been on the market longer. Is you may be able to negotiate either better terms for yourself, maybe contributions to closing costs, or other incentives, or negotiating down that list price. Both can be some great ways because a seller isn't negotiating all the time. Now, their agent is, but you're dealing with an individual versus a corporation. So you can sometimes get a better deal going that route. All right, next one here. Maintenance costs. Okay, so this is a really good one to come up. Of course, even with a new home, there are going to be things that inevitably may deteriorate or break. A lot of times, though, there are builders here in the area, and it's builder by builder dependent on what kind of warranties they have their build. Some builders will really do a lot to service that home for the first year after close. I've spoken with some where they have told stories that they have gone back out to fix stuff, within that year period after closing that just came up. A lot of times your appliances will come with new warranties, and you've got a lot of warranties that come with that house. So that can help reduce your monthly maintenance costs for now. Down the road, of course, everything is going to deteriorate and you're going to have to eventually start paying for that stuff out of your own pocket. Now, when it comes to a resale home, that's something you're going to definitely want to factor in, especially depending on the age and condition of the house. Home warranty can be a good way to help mitigate some of the cost by look at the various home warranty packages, and something we do encourage all buyers to purchase and get with their home. For maintenance costs, most experts suggest that you set anywhere from 1 to 3% of the value of your home aside each year for maintenance costs. So if you're looking at a $300,000 property, then at the low end, that would be setting at least $3,000 aside into a separate account just for home maintenance that comes up. Because that hot water heater, the appliances, the roof, and other issues are going to come up with that house from time to time, and they don't happen just on a and we all know that maintenance costs on homes always seem to everything seems to hit at once. It doesn't just come one thing at a time. They all seem to happen at the same time. Your water heater goes out, your HVAC goes out, and you start getting a roof leak. But with that, it is a cost that you're going to want to factor into your monthly, you're not going to see it reflecting your monthly payments, but highly suggest that you figure a maintenance cost on top of it and save that each month. Consider that just a part of your home ownership expense. So don't stretch yourself so thin that you don't have any money set aside for the maintenance of a used home. So new construction, you do see the advantage of not as much maintenance costs in those first few years, and that may affect depending on how long you plan to live there and sell it, maybe before you start having a lot of maintenance issues. Used home, you're taking on all the joys that come with a used home, all that delayed maintenance of the previous owner. And to include upgrades, updating, if you don't update your home for 20, 30 years, that really can hurt the value down the road comparatively. So all of that I would consider into maintenance, and you will see a little bit of savings there by building new. All right, so the next one. House size. Okay, so a lot of the new builds that we're seeing right now, we've seen overall new construction prices trending downwards, but we're not seeing a big reduction in the price of square foot to build year over year. So what that means is that more and more new construction, they're building homes a little bit smaller than they used to. And you'll see that a lot and that may be something that you're seeing more and more, especially with the new builds. They're building at smaller footprint, smaller, just to keep those costs down. And if you're more of an if you're buying more of an entry-level home, then you'll see that especially here in the area. Compare that to a resale home, because unless it's completely updated, a lot of times you're spending a lot less per square footage. And so you can either take that extra bit in your budget and buy a bigger house. And so this is really where you have to decide how big of a house you need and where that budget constraint is. Buying a new home by getting one that's too small for you that ultimately you're going to regret and want to be out of in 3, 4, 5 years may be a lot worse off than buying a used home that may not have all the bells and whistles, but at least has the square footage that's really going to serve you longer, as you can save up and maybe consider doing those upgrades down the road when interest rates, they come back down, maybe looking at refinancing for an upgrade at that point. But at least you have options, saving cash. But it's going to be very costly to add on to a home versus just fixing up cosmetic or interior upgrades after the fact. So overall, a new build, you're probably going to be getting a smaller house than you could with that same budget buying a existing resale home. So something to keep in mind. Of course, more houses, more to clean, and a lot of these new builds may have more intelligently designed where the space is being utilized better than older homes where you've got a lot of they're very blocky, you've got separate rooms, a lot of wasted space in there, and it's just not being utilized as well. So some of these new homes may feel just as big, and a lot of them will have a higher ceiling height, which definitely helps give the illusion of the house being bigger and feeling bigger. So all that to keep in mind. Appreciation, a big one. A lot of people are considering Huntsville because they're looking at the growth, and you may be thinking of moving here because you want to buy a property, maybe live in it for a few years and then rent it out, or hopefully sell it for some appreciation if you know, sometime down the road. What I'll say right now is we're seeing year over year, it's been pretty flat on appreciation across the board. Some areas have dipped, some have gone up more, but it's been holding steady or small decline year over year. A new construction home, when it comes to appreciation, you have the advantage of, especially if you're getting in early into a new development, you have the advantages of the fact that builders do not want to sell homes a year from now for less than they sold a year prior. They want to keep seeing those sales prices go up and up and up. So a lot of times they'll do whatever they can before reducing those prices down. So they may offer more incentives, more buy downs, whatever they can do to keep the price at least where it was at, and they want to make money too, so they're looking at the later stages. They want to be selling for a lot more than the early stages. So if you're getting in early, you have that advantage of more comps being sold in your area that are at a higher, that are hopefully selling at a higher price point than yours. As far as resale goes, that's going to be just more typical appreciation that you would be looking at, but you don't have that extra boost of a developer really trying to boost the values of the home in your exact subdivision. So that is going to be some of the trade-offs that you're looking at for a resale home. It can still, the whole area has appreciated a lot recently, but over the next few years, again, don't have a crystal ball, but being a bit more conservative now on what we're expecting appreciation to be, and it's all there's a lot of factors and global factors and way outside of our control to predict. But the way I like to think about it is if I build new in a new construction, at least I have that builder doing everything they can to get prices up in that area. If I'm buying established, then it's just what's going and turning in the area. Now, the downside of that appreciation, though, when you're building new is you're going to be dealing with all the hassles of new construction. You're going to be having the eyesores of construction crews and porta potties and nails, and on the streets that could, damage tires, and you're going to have dirt mounds all over the place, and you're going to have, people coming in and out. So all of that hassle, that eyesore, dump trucks coming in and out, that's part of kind of what you're having to put up with for a while. To hopefully see that appreciation down the road. Now, and that's a big advantage, that noise, that lack of eyesore that you will be benefiting from buying existing, because you're not necessarily going to be dealing, at least, someone down the street may be doing it, building something new, but you're not looking at a whole subdivision being built out, so you should be seeing a whole lot less of that comparatively. All right, next one. Amenities. So with a lot of these subdivisions, especially in Madison County, in Huntsville, but a lot of these subdivisions are really thinking about all the amenities they're putting in. They are backing up to, and of course, each one is different, but a lot of them will back up to trails that you can go on. They may have some lake or water access, and their HOAs. I know for some people that'll turn you off right there. You're like, I don't want new construction, I don't want anything in an HOA. But some of the HOAs will have a lot of benefits and amenities in them. It's all going to vary depending, of course, on which way you go. But figure they're having to put more and more into amenities in these new builds, and even the outside surrounding areas. Some of these master plan areas coming up where you've got shopping and entertainment, and then your new schools and subdivisions all kind of popping up. You're seeing a lot of that going on in Madison County. So you're seeing a lot of different amenities with these new builds, and it's something you can definitely compare them against. For existing homes, I'm not saying they don't have amenities either, but it's just something to look at between the two. Some of the existing areas are beautiful, and they've got access to different trails or lakes that you can't get into if you don't live there. So it's all going to be that's just another thing to compare each one against. I'm seeing a lot of new construction putting more and more into the amenities, but it's going to vary on a case-by-case basis. But if amenities are important to you, then that's definitely something that can be easier to, like, if you want these exact amenities, then we can try and find a builder that's going to match up with. Maybe you don't want to do a lot of maintenance outside, and so you want new community that has the outside maintenance taken care of as well. Some of that we do have some of those areas here in Huntsville, so in the surrounding area. So just something to look at. If there's a set list of amenities that you've got to have, new construction may definitely help. But occasionally you'll have a used home that will pop up. They'll still meet that criteria. So I wouldn't say to go one way or another just on the basis of amenities, but it is just another factor to keep in mind when you're comparing between the two. All right, so is it better to go for those upgrades or updates? We touched on this a little bit earlier, but when you're building new, let's be real. It's really easy to go way over budget on those upgrades. I mean, you go through the model home and they're usually chocked full of upgrades. They may have 30, 40, 50, 60 grand in upgrades in that model home that you're seeing, and you're going, wow, I want it to look just like this. Some of the upgrades are definitely great, solid value items, but sometimes you may be paying a lot more for that upgrade than if you just get it done after the fact. So when it comes to new construction, you really want to compare between the two. Now, contractors, that's an advantage. Is if you're building it, that you're going through their contractors, you don't have to worry about finding your own contractors. I know that can be a struggle for a lot of people, just trying to find good help if you're doing it after the fact. But nonetheless, I've spoken with some builders who have been real frank and honest with me, and they said, you can upgrade this. I wouldn't suggest it because we charge so much for it. You'd be better off just picking this up at at your home improvement store and just doing this yourself for the cost. Like you'd be better off. They have better options. So some of them will be very upfront and honest about that. What I'll say when it comes to new construction is don't overbuild for that area. If you're buying a base home of like 300,000, don't go putting in like 90 or 100 grand in upgrades. That's going to way blow up your amenities for that area. You want to be, and we can talk about this, of course. Best thing to do when it comes to these things is working with an agent who can help give that balancing opinion. Our team here at Teens List Realty, we are happy to help. We understand what goes into the new construction process, and I don't want y'all overpaying for something, at least without me of saying something about it, at least questioning, and ultimately you're in the driver's seat. You get to choose what to do, but I believe in treating people like how I would want people to treat me, and so just being honest, especially when it comes to big purchases and upgrades, it's gotta be what's best for you. So and we help in both ways, buyers, and we help, and our team, we can help you with new construction or existing homes. Even if you're just looking at, you want to rent for a little while, and then you want to buy some land, and then maybe put a mobile home on it, and then build later. Any part of the process when you're relocating here, we can help you with that purchasing side of it. Just give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, whatever your preferred method of reaching out is, and we'll be happy to work with you. But when it comes to a resale home, that's really where you're going to be, again, is thinking, is it worth it to buy something a little bit cheaper and then just putting cash into those upgrades? That can be hard for a lot of people who are cash strapped, where you may want that all the bells and whistles, and it's easier if you just finance and loan. Well, there are a lot of properties, there are a lot of loan types out there where you can do a renovation loan, or you can buy an existing home. You have so long to do the upgrades, but they'll loan you the amounts based off the upgrades that you want to do. I've done that with some people in the past, and it worked out well for them. And so there's a variety of ways you can still get a lot of those bells and whistles. It doesn't always have to be a new build. And of course, you can always just give it some time, maybe just purchase the house now and put that money into it down the road as you can. But whether it's new construction or resale, please don't overblow the amenities for your neighborhood, because at some point it's diminishing returns. Now, if you like it, it's your lifestyle. I can't dock that. But from a return on investment point of view, you want to be careful, not going overboard with amenities. All right, what's the next one we have here? That was long-winded. Buyer beware. Here we get into this one. So if you've followed a few of my videos on the channel, then you may already know, but Alabama is one of the, I think it's 6 states left in the United States that are buyer beware. My other state that I come from, Virginia, was also buyer beware, so kind of funny, I've lived in 2 of the 6 states. But what that means is when it comes to the sale of a used home, the responsibility is on you, the buyer, to figure out what's wrong with it. Now, there are certain exceptions to that. A seller cannot hide what's called like latent defects, something that you cannot readily discover through due diligence. So due diligence isn't you walking through, but it's the host of inspections available to you. So if you get a home inspector out, maybe structural inspector, things that you could discover with the help of professionals, then the seller does need to disclose that. But it's still very difficult to, if you bought something and something went wrong, it's very difficult. You would have to consult with an attorney, but to prove that the seller knew about it and hid it, and then you're still going through court case, and it can be a mess. So really, you're going to need to just you're going to need to be careful when purchasing. You're going to need to really rely on good home inspectors. Again, if you're looking at moving here, our office, we have a list of people that we can recommend to you, and you're free to use whoever you'd like, as long as they're licensed and insured. But this is when it comes to a resale home, you got to be careful. You gotta put that due diligence in place, and please don't waive it. When it comes to a new build, though, caveat emptor does not apply. So builders need to make sure that it is built, and you're going to be seeing the build process. You're going to have several times where you're going to be looking at that new construction along the way. You are free to hire your own independent inspector as well if you'd like to inspect the new construction. But builders are not governed under caveat emptor. They need to make sure that they're delivering a good product. So a lot of builders will have different like guarantees on it. Maybe it's like a 1, 2, 10. Sometimes they will guarantee it themselves. Some will be the like what the interior for a year, and then your appliances, major systems, they have their own warranties with them, and then they'll guarantee like the structure for a certain amount of years. It's going to vary between builder and builder. I like to see the ones that use a third party to hold that warranty. That way, if Builder Bob over here goes bankrupt because they built a whole subdivision that was bad, and everyone sued them and they couldn't pay up, and then you just have to have one of those, you have an outside company guaranteeing those. So it helps spread the risk. Not every builder is going to offer that, though. So it's something, again, just through the process, looking at each one, figuring out, the integrity of the builder. I suggest that for any builder that you're seriously looking at it, that you go that step further with due diligence and check their Better Business Bureau ratings and see what you can find about them online, good and bad, and see how they resolved it. I mean, a lot of due diligence when it comes to picking a builder. But buyer beware, you're going to have more assurances with a new build than you will doesn't apply to a new build. So you're going to not have to worry about that aspect when moving here with that, which for some people, that peace of mind may be reason enough for you to build. I'll say there's billions of dollars of real estate sold in Alabama every year that are used homes. So don't let that scare you. We deal with this all the time, and we can help you work through that process. All right, what else we got? We're getting down to the last couple here. Financing. Okay, so we talked about financing a little bit earlier, but a lot of times new construction builders, they will have a preferred lender that they work with a lot, and they will offer certain incentives if you use that preferred lender. What I'll say, though, is even if you don't want to use a preferred lender, take those quotes of what they're offering. And I've had someone do this where they took the builder's lender, what they quoted, took it back to their original lender who quoted them something, and their original lender was able to sufficiently come up with a equivalent match that they kept with their original. So even if you have an existing lender, just taking them, saying, hey, the builder is offering you this to go with their lender. What can you do better? That can be a great way to kind of negotiate against your own lender and see if they'll do you a better deal, better terms, something to help bridge that gap. So that can be a good way to, even if you don't use a preferred lender, to still get some of those benefits potentially. A lot of these new construction are going to be outside city limits, so they can qualify for USDA financing, which is 0% down. But your new construction, typically they will be going FHA, VA, USDA, conventional financing. So you have a host of caveat with the USDA, it's got to be in an approved zone, but there's going to be a host of financing options. When it comes to a resale home, and sometimes really depending on the age, you may see a lot less financing options. So some will just be conventional cash, especially if it has a lot of work with it. Some sellers don't want to do FHA because FHA has certain requirements, or VA, same with VA, certain requirements that the home must meet or else it will not qualify. And then the seller either has to fix it to let it go that way, or deals can just fall apart. You got to come to some kind of agreement there. But that can potentially limit your financing options. Especially an older home, it has more likelihood of having issues. Like wood rot on the exterior of the building can be a big one. Peeling paint, these different requirements that the home has to meet for these independent, these appraisers to go out there and for this financing to go that way. So you are more likely to have more financing options with a new home. But I'll tell you, with a used home, sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes you will have some owner financing in there as well. Not common in this area. If usually they're going to be charging you you're going to be getting a worse deal than if you could just go through traditional financing. But it's all going to vary. It's all going to depend. Again, pros and cons each way. Maybe you can negotiate something a little better with the seller, but overall, whichever way you go with financing, we do always suggest that, whether it's builder or you're looking at resale, shop around with lenders and keep trying to get a quote, negotiate against another lender, get a quote, negotiate against that so you can get the best deal possible. All right, last one in here. Timeline. This is an important one. Timeline. So this is really going to be dependent on when you are planning on moving here. If you already have kind of an approximate day when you're going to be here, and let's say it's 6 months out, then when you're building new right now, a lot of builders will have a 6 month or so timeline. It can go late though, so keep that in mind. It's not uncommon for these build times to go late. They'll say maybe 4 to 6 months. I'm always going to be taking the later end of that timeline because anything can happen. Weather can just mess it up. Maybe some more supply issues. There's so much that can happen that can push that build time out further. If you're looking at, and it's going to depend. If you're looking, there are some builders that will build from a set of homes, and they won't let you do any customization whatsoever, aside from your upgrades and very basic stuff. But they're not going to let you move walls or really do much of anything. Those they can typically get a faster build time on because they are building the same product over and over and over again. Then you have builders that have more leeway with customization. Just think, the more customization you have, and you go all the way up to custom builds, but the more you customize, the longer that build time is going to be. If you have a medium set of customizations, it can easily hit 8, 10 months or 12 months. If you have a lot of custom, like completely custom, it could be over a year, 1, 2 years, just depending on the scope of what is going to be. Now, some new construction, they have what's called spec homes, where the builder's already built this home out and it's ready to go, or it's going to be nearing completion date soon. Those can be options for kind of interim in between that you can look at. But really, you need to know where your timeline is. Maybe you'll have to do some short-term stay, like a short-term rental in between. But I know for our family, when we moved here, we were moving with a lot of farm animals, alpaca, dogs. We brought some bunny rabbits, cats, all kinds of chickens, all kinds of critters. So renting temporarily was not an option. So we had to look at something more outside of the city and something that was available right away with fencing and everything, good to go. So it's all going to depend, of course, on your situation. With a resale home, I would say if you're looking at like 3 months out, it's probably a little bit too early to start shopping seriously. If you're serious about looking at purchasing, look online, check the MLS, reach out, happy to talk through and help. But when you're looking at finally going for that purchase, that you're looking at, well, if everything goes well, 30 days from contract to close. If it's USDA loan, it may take a little bit longer, but right around a month is what you're looking at. If you're cash, 2 weeks. But it's all going to depend on what your timeline is and what's going to work, what you need to be ready to go right away. All right, the last one I'm going to talk about, kind of a bonus one, is lot size. That is something that's one of the big disadvantages with these new constructions, and they're not all this way, but a lot of them are on really small lots. So if you want some space, those older resale homes a lot of times tend to have a much bigger lots and some more space in your back and front yard, or options out in the country where you can get acres of property and land. So a lot of the new construction, we'll see them on a 1/4 acre or less lots. They're just tiny little lots, and they're just cramming as much of these homes as they can in these subdivisions. Some of them will be a little bit bigger, but of course that comes with a higher price. But that is a big advantage with your resale homes, is you can oftentimes find something equivalent price with a much bigger lot. So with a much bigger lot, or sometimes where the neighbor bought a lot next door. We see that sometimes as well. You have like a 2 lots property. So hope that this list was helpful for you, at least brought up some things that maybe you hadn't considered before when you're trying to decide between these two things. If you have more specific questions, that's the best thing to do is just reach out, get a hold of us. Again, my name is Richard Graham, and our team here at Dean's List Realty, we are all about helping people like you who are relocating to this area. And the best way to get a hold of us and ask those detailed questions is give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email. There is a lot. If you like stats, we can get into all kinds of stats. Before this video, I was just looking through all the stats in the area. I can get you data points from county to county, city to city, whatever you want, looking at year of home build, average price per square foot, over the last year, where all that trending data is. It's a lot of data, and thought it would be a little bit too much to put into this video. But if you like that kind of information, then we'll set up a time to talk and be happy to answer any of those questions. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Till next time, take care.